It's not still not loud enough. Are you still here? Yes. So I've been wondering what else I'm going to be saying after listening to everybody. So I took so many notes in my notebook, and just listening to the stories, I was saying to myself two things. Why am I speaking last? Well, obviously I came last. I came into the room last. But the other thing that's interesting is that my story is different. So you can read from my profile. I'm not a business owner, right? Okay, no, let me change that. I'm a business owner. I'm not an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? So you would have seen from my profile that what I will share with you is my professional journey. How many of you here are professionals, like your career people? Can I see your hand? Even if you're running your business, your career people. Yeah, so for those of you who know career people as well, the things I will share with you, you will get a few things, or maybe many things, that will impact you greatly. Are we together? Please help me thank and appreciate this gentleman, impactful gentleman, Mr. Wisdom Ezekiel. I thought your applause would be louder than that. One of the things that you should take from this session, beyond the stories, beyond, the applause, beyond the laughter, beyond the claps, beyond the competition where you're doing your selfies, are the things you want to begin to do differently. The opportunity to have an event like this is transformational. But in another 5 years, another 10 years, that transformation would only depend on what you do from today. One of the speakers said earlier, that having the desire is not enough. It's what you do with that desire that makes the difference. Thank you so much for this opportunity, putting this together for us as speakers and also for the audience. Please, another round of applause. Also appreciating everybody that has spoken. I picked so many things. I don't want to say too much, but let me acknowledge my fellow female speaker. So when she started speaking, I don't call myself a speaker. Some people have called me speaker. I say today, I will tell people, don't call me speaker again. Just say she's my... how can you call me speaker when she was speaking? I had to be is she reading a script? Is the module? Please help me appreciate this beautiful woman. So impactful. All the speakers so impactful. Next time they call me speaker, I'll begin to say, should you call me speaker or talker? But I hope that my story will inspire somebody here. The difference between the two differences that in addition to the fact that I'm more of a career person, the other two different, one is not sure that they also have that, but maybe there was a lot about their journey. But I'm going to stress a bit of my own journey that I think everybody's stressed, but I'm going to take my story along that line. And that's the last thing I will say. But the other thing that will be majorly different. I know they are all authors. I didn't meet. I met the end of Mr. Wisdom's speech, so I don't know if he did. But the other difference is I came here with my book. I thought you would clap at this point. You are not clapping because when somebody brings book, it is money, right? But this is loaded with almost 2 decades of professional career, where I share with you, what I'll be sharing with you today is just bits and pieces. You get a lot from this. Those who are if you have my number, since December when this book was released, almost every week there's one feedback or the other. And truthfully, I've not even done any online publicity. I'm sure you've not seen me paid for any publicity. It's just events like this I've spoken. And then the last set of paperback is what I brought today, and the hardcover. Paperback completely sold out. It's just been the goodness of God. Just having, from people saying this book has been impacted. You can clap because you will get your copy after I speak. Thank you. Okay, so my story. That third thing I said I will say to you is that my story is just that of a girl helped by God. So it's not that I've done anything uniquely different. I have to be very frank with you. Yes, if I share the story, you might pick a few things. But I always know, every time I reflect on how far I've come, and mind you, it's still a journey and I'm not even there yet. You know what I mean? I'm not there yet. But it's the mercy of God. It's just a girl helped by God. And so when I listen to all the speakers, there are a lot of things that are similar to mine. Please give me my time so that I'm a talker, not a speaker, so I need to check as I'm speaking. Some of the, recurring themes, I also have them. I have the Ajegule background as well. Many of you will not know. I have the face me, I face you background. The toilet where you poo-poo, they'll put paper on top so that other people will poo-poo. You don't even need to poo-poo. Do you understand? I had that background. One time we were teenagers church, and my husband and I were leading the teens church, and I shared with them that story. I could see them looking at me. I'm sure some of them were playing in their mind, trying to reconcile the person they're seeing today and the stories I was sharing. Are you following me? So there are a lot of things I heard that were consistent. Going to school, my children will say, Mom, you need to change my lunchbox. I will tell them I used to hold my plate in my hand. Orile Gomu. From Orile to Coca. And when somebody shared about, what's the name of Barua, I said, Barua is still nice sounding. Mine was Umoru Memorial Primary School. In Coca, Orile Gomu. How many of you know Orile Gomu? Okay, you don't know. But when you talked about Badia, I could relate. So, you see people today, many of them have your stories, maybe even worse. But the other thing, beyond the God factor, for me, were my choices. And so as I take you through my story, I'll just tell you different choices that I've had to make. The first choice I had to make as a young girl was the choice of purity. So it's not even in my notes. That just came to mind now. And I believe it's because somebody needs to hear this. That bit about purity, it wasn't in my mind. Chastity, it wasn't in my mind. But God has taken me into rooms where I'm able to share that story. Yes, people have different areas of life. Are you following me? People will make mistakes. It's not the judging bit. But because I'm standing here and I'm inspired to say that, I believe strongly that somebody needed to hear that. And when I say chastity and purity, I'm not only talking about, relationship with the opposite. No, not just that. I'm talking integrity. Do you understand? I'm talking integrity. I'm talking people knowing you for who you are and being able to say, yes, this is this person. The other thing that has been significant for me, I wish I can tell my story in an orderly manner and I carry the other person. So please, I won't say it, but just speak the things that I share and the things that impact you. Another thing that has been powerful for me is the power of your words. So today I work in the oil and gas industry. I think I was in my mid-teen years when I went to Akodo Beach for the very first time. I don't think that beach is common again, but that was the raining beach at that time in the 90s. And at that time we went to the beach. I was in a local church where we couldn't afford vehicle, the charter bus. We slept overnight in the beach. So picture those beaches you have now and picture them close to 30 years ago. Imagine the risk. We slept in rooms where there were idols. Our parents couldn't sleep that night. But one experience, I don't remember that experience, but let me tell you the experience I remember. For those of you who know that Lekki axis, at that time, when you are going through, you leave the mainland and come to Lekki, the only building you see is the Chevron building. How many of you are within that age range? You can tell me. If you're in your 40s here, you will know what I'm saying. The only building that will stand out on the left-hand side is Chevron. And I was in the bus, I told my fellow people from my church, Foursquare Gospel Church, I'm a Foursquare girl, I like to say that. But listen, I see some Foursquareans raising their hands. Listen, but now I'm a Calvarian. Let me also acknowledge that. I said to my people, I'm going to work in this place. Many years later, when I started working in oil and gas, I haven't worked in Chevron, but I've worked in, let me not compare now. So I can say that now because I'm no more in that company. When I got into Shell, listen, when I got into Shell, God made me remember that statement. Your words. I think we heard a lot about words here. Your words are powerful. As a girl who didn't have a father in her teenage years, my mom would say to us, your mates, when we demand some things, as a typist in the government, work, she would say to us, your mates are hawking. I'll tell her they are not my mates. Was it wrong to hawk? No. Do you understand what I'm saying? Did I do other things that were even worse than hawking just to make ends meet? Yes. But because I knew that there was something I had, and to be frank with you, the only role model I had was my brother, my older brother. But, that's just story. But let me share a few. I'm just going to share some points in my career Because they said at the end of that presentation, how I navigated, and everything is about choices. So final year, let me jump from primary school, the face me, I slap you, relay, Asana, streets, for those, I don't know, a lot of things. But let me jump into where I needed to make the decision going into university. I wrote JAMB 4 times. So this is somebody whose result that I use till today was my SS2 result. So do you know what it means to pass all your papers in SS2? It means that you are not dull. But it was JAMB that was the issue. Listen to me. So, like many people that shared here, I can comfortably say I had one of the best WAEC results as well. But my GS, what I did, in fact, it was somebody in church that told my mom, this girl needs to write exam in SS2. Don't let her wait. So I wrote. I'm not sure I had any exam that I got less than 200, but my mom would say to me, I can never go and lobby admission for any child. So I kept writing JAMB. The year I got into school, I was upset with my mother because I realized I could have gotten into school at least 3 years before. But guess what? Every of those years, I kept getting admission. Every year. But I said I must do economics. Because I was a science student, when I couldn't do science again, I said, okay, let me go do economics. And then, first year, geography and general planning, Ladoke Akitola. Second year, that was when this university just started, one of the new universities, I can't remember the name, but it's quite popular now, started. So I got admission there, and we said, we don't know anybody in the East, don't go. Third year, another admission, Amritsali University. That one I actually went, did a year, with cultists and everything. I had to leave there. And then fourth year, Uniben, finally, my mother's. And guess what? It was that same geography and general planning from the first year that I still went to do 4 good years. Wasted. At some point, I would jokingly tell my classmates, like he was saying, somebody was saying, you were the one teaching me, I would jokingly tell them that, no, I want to go and learn work, even though I knew they wouldn't even allow me. My brothers, as an only girl with 3 older brothers, no, but you can't say that in the house. But listen, the story I'm trying to share with you is not the story of hardship. Those were a lot. Do you understand? It's the story of how the hand of God was manifest. And beyond the hand of God, the story of how my choices also aligned with the hand of God. So when I got into university, after spending not up to a year, that year in Ekoma, there was a lot of strike then, and then went into Uniben. At that time, I got into school with second semester, towards the end of first semester, just towards the exam. And then I met some people, I said, let's read together. And they were like, oh, no, we can't read, we have already set up our group. By the time the result came out, those people came to meet me and said, let's come and join our group. Guess what I told them? I like to read alone. God saw me through that year, but some of the mistakes I made, and I'm going to share that with you because those are mistakes a lot of you make in your career. You're not being visible. People don't care what content you have inside you. What they care about is what they see you bring out. Are you following me? So I go to final year, and the guy who, Professor Nokore is late now, who started my department in Uniben said, go and call me this girl. Me, while I was a student, I would never speak in class. By the time the result, how many of you know that sometimes first class, there's always a small thing that makes a difference? I tell my children, when you are writing, your handwriting can distinguish you between an A and a B. Do you understand? The way you answer questions in class can make the lecturer mark and say, no, I know he knows it. Rather than give you an 8, he will give you a 10. I'm telling you. For that lecturer, I had 2 lecturers call me in final year and say, I don't know this person, but I like what I'm seeing. So imagine what I had lost in previous years. By the time my result came out, I made a covenant with God. If I can make a first class, it was my 3rd year, when my course advisor, I said, Victoria, in fact, all this I'm sharing is not in my notes. I don't know why I'm sharing this. And he said, why make a strong 2-1 when you can make a first class? And I started striving. But alas, I can't be striving for first class from 300 level. Because when I got into school, everybody was saying, make it 2-1, make it 2-1. So from 100 level, 4.4 points, I was good. But if I had the people telling me, so who do you have speaking to you, even in your career? So let me jump to while I was working in KPMG. After my NYC, that's where I first worked. It was my manager. I'm linking up to who in your career? My manager called me one day and said, Victoria, this was my 5th year in KPMG. And she said, you have so much to offer. But if you stay here, the top is heavy. Notice my story, I'm talking career now. Are you following me? If you stay here, and what did we have? We had an 11-man team with 4 managers. It was clear, it was top heavy. But it took a manager who was my mentor to tell me, Victoria, you need to move. How does your manager tell you to leave the organization? She told me, Victoria, you need to leave here, or else your capabilities will be buried. Because we cannot promote you above people that are here and they are not ready to move. Are you following me? So do you know when to move? Most of the moves I have had that have been significant in my career is knowing when to move. I've gotten to a point in my career, I will share this. I think this might be the first public platform where I'm going to share this, because I've shared it in mentoring sessions. I don't think I've even shared it in church. That as a HR manager, I lost my job at some point. Many people don't know. So many of you know we'll be nearing now, and not long ago, recent. When I say recent, just a few years ago. So there was a restructuring in the organization that I worked. I'd only been there a year plus. And then they said your role. They offered me something else. I said I didn't want. I saw the handwriting and they said your role was changing. But when that role changed, let me tell you where the God factor comes in again. So I don't know how many of you, that you know that inspiring thought in your heart to do something different. And you are just keeping it. You're holding it. Like Madam Blessing was talking about taking those actions. There are things that God tells you to do. I will try and connect a few things about God factor and choices, if that's what I can share. God factor and choices. Your story might not be... The first job I had, that KPMG that I told you about, are you following me? That KPMG job. Because I'd made a covenant with God, that God, if I'm able to make a first class, this is what I would do. I didn't make a first class, but I still did that. It was tough. Having had to work, this is somebody that the lecturers my faculty had said, go do your masters and come back to employ as a lecturer. Because I didn't make a first class, so I needed to go do masters first. But when I left school, I knew how to work. When your mother is a typist, retired at that point, I knew I had to work. But guess what? When that work started, my first full salary, I took it to church. The church, First World Gospel Church, you don't know at the time. And my mom came back and said they had never seen that level of seed in the church before. It was a small family church. And she told me that the elders put the check, those days was days of check, put it in their middle and they prayed over it. When I lost my job about 15 years later, and I only stayed at home for 1 month resting, I remember the power of that prayer. Permits me to be going spiritual. I remember the power of that prayer. And so when they said, we are going to restructure this organization and your job is impacted, how do you say it as the person who mentors people in career? How do you say it as the person when there's anything career is you, they will call it church? Are you following me? For choices. Another place where the God factor worked was in that same time when there were 2 different jobs coming. One was very juicy. Listen, knowing when to move. How do you know when to move in your career? When your skills are already at the point where it looks like you're at the peak. When you are the one that is celebrated the most. I am not saying you must leave your organization. I'm just saying you need to be thinking, what's the next level? For some of you, it's going to be a promotion. For some of you, it's going to be an organization. For some of you, you might need to go launch out and do your own thing. But when the God factor also came in, were 2 things. Again, the God factor and personal choices. And so there were these 2 jobs that were coming. I was being interviewed. And guess what? Both of them, people told me about them. And as I was doing the interview for both of them, in fact, one of them, I had to travel for a course in Spain, and I did interview the same day for both organizations. One of them was so juicy. Was a GM role directly next to HR director who was due to retire. People were calling me from the organization, people who knew people, and saying, you are the preferred candidate. This is me who That was my next goal, HR director. This is if I mention the company, you know what I'm saying. But it was at a critical time in my career where I needed to save. I needed to look at my children. And I knew that if I missed this stage of their life, I have missed it. People look at them today and say, oh, they are well groomed, but there were decisions that had to be taken. And so when the other one came, I had to speak to mentors, and they said, what are your priorities? For every season of your life, I have my book. My book is Maximizing Your Career Season. So for every season of your life, your journey might not be exactly the same as somebody else, even in the same season. So for some people, it might look like they are going through this way and everything seems to be working, and you are taking a detour. There's a process God is taking you through. Are you following me? There are things that you have gone through in life that will speak for you later, or that will be the examples that you can fall back on. And so my mentors that I prayed, and my mentors that I spoke to said, if these are your priorities, go into oil and gas at this point. Oil and gas was not a senior role. But guess what? Because I also wanted that GM, company car, a lot of benefits. I could see it. And then guess what happened? I had to pray and say, God, order it. Again, permit me that I'm going spiritual. God, order it. That other company, a lot of delays started happening. The day I signed the offer for the oil and gas company, that wasn't so much of a senior role. That was the day those guys called me to come and meet the MD. It was a very senior role, so I needed to be the MD. So I knew it was God answering the prayer. But let me now shock you what happened. So this was 2019, December 2nd, I started working in this industry. And you know what happened in December outside Nigeria, 2019? By March, in Nigeria, we were on a lockdown. At this point, I had lost the job in the FMCG where I was. Are you following my story? That job I was targeting, I was being headhunted for, that people had congratulated me for. It wasn't recruited for until over a year later after COVID. So when I say that, knowing when God says, just listening to certain instructions is key. There are things that some people will never experience because they didn't know when to make that move. But let me now superimpose it with my own personal choices. There are times you will need to stretch. When I did my interview with this organization, I asked them, I said, why did you take me? I've never been in oil and gas. I asked them when I started work. They put me in industrial relations. I said, I've never done this. I don't understand. Why did you take me? They told me two things. One, that company where I thought that I was and I lost my job, they said that your 1 year experience there was critical for us. And yeah, I was thinking it was my KPMG and lost experience. So I had to go through that process where I lost my job because there was something bigger. So I don't know what it is. When they say simple people, big impact 10x, everybody has a story that you don't hear. So I come on platforms today, helping people manage their careers. I've also been through the low moments of my career. Are you following me? The other thing that I can tell you linked to it, they told me this. They said to me, one of the things we also considered is that every time we have recruited people from Lagos Business School, they did well. When I did my Lagos Business School MBA, I borrowed money to pay my first school fees. Okay, let me put it in a different way. I had to take money from cooperative to pay it, so I couldn't afford it. There was a time when my access was withdrawn because I couldn't pay the fees. But because I knew. Before then, I got an admission twice. Let me not mention the name, but the other popular one in Lagos. The first admission, there was a delay. All the things I wrote, I didn't even put them. Because I had also delay. Do you understand? Making the switch, delay in career. I told you my 4 years delay. Delay after getting married, having children. My classmates or my colleagues, people got married after me, having back to back. We carry told me every time my clothes are not fitting me, and I'm there, I'm making school are insensitive. But by the time God will answer me, it came at a point where in my career I was settled, and then God gave me double for my trouble. I got twins. Listen, beyond the twins, those years of delay, till today, the courses that I wrote, the exams I took, I've not taken that number before. In those years where I was waiting. So while you're waiting for your next big job, what are you doing? While you're waiting for your promotion, what are you doing? By the time that job came, also for Deloitte, they told me,
We saw your certifications and we knew you were the person for this job. So how are you preparing for that next big thing? So a few things that I will leave for you. Number one, how you start matters. I started with God. The people you have in your circle matters. The two jobs that I told you about were people that referred me and said, I know somebody who can do the job. Who do you have in your circle? The three things I thought I would be able to share, but I can't share them. What I'd written was your value, your voice, your visibility in the workplace. The first thing everybody remembers you for is the quality that you bring to the table. It's not how long you have been on the road. So I'm going professional now. It's not how long you have been, it's the quality. Then the next thing is your voice. When you do work, do people know you do work? Do you speak up in meetings? Who would remember you? And let me surprise you here. Sometimes your voice is not even just who remembers you, who reminds you on a personal note. Whose child's birthday did you remember to attend? I'm giving you secrets now. Whose wife's birthday, your boss is a Muslim, and you say I'm a Christian, you sit at home on Salah day, and you're working directly with him. They are not going to, they will not tell you that I'm marking you down because you didn't visit. These are things that are mental. It's an unconscious thing. And then finally, your visibility. Your visibility is beyond you being seen and being on social media. It's whose presence amplifies you. Who's your mentor? Somebody said something. Every room where your next move in your career will come from, most times, 90% of the time, you're not there. It's not that they will call you to come out. Even when they call you to present, the final decision will be taken when you have left the room. So who is that person that you have impacted with your value and your voice that will rub off their own visibility on you? And let me tell you this. Lastly, your value, your voice, and your visibility links to three things. Number one, your value links to your impact. The value that you bring shows how impactful you are. But your voice links to income. So the more people know you, the more people remember you. They remember you for opportunities. But most importantly, your visibility links to your influence. When you are not there, what will be said about you? Big opportunities, people are not interviewed for. They are recommended for. I hope that you're taking so much from this side. And truthfully, I didn't have to open this, but I believe that you have learned a lot. I will end this. My time is up. But I'll just say a few things. One of them, Pastor Wisdom talked about his mentor, who is also my mentor, Dr. Lumine. But I don't know if you know him. When he read this book, he sent me a message. I can't read here now because of time. And he said, this book is wow. In July, I'm going to be doing a series in my church on this book, just because of the impact of this book. If you leave here without getting this book, it's an error. God bless you.